Hello, everybody. Good afternoon. Happy Wednesday to all of you. Welcome to another webinar with us at Organic Intelligence. Today is going to be a very fun and interesting afternoon. I think normally when we do webinars, you're used to just seeing either me or just Robbie. But for today, we have other people who will join us. So today, we're going to be talking about how to you create or how creating an inclusive organization is actually very, very critical in our current business climate. Okay, and in our situation, it is something that we really need to consider. On that note, okay, this is the topic because we want also to greet everybody a happy Pride Day. Special shout out to those of our friends and our partners who belong to the LGBTQIA plus community. So on behalf of everybody from Organic Intelligence, we are happy to celebrate Pride Day and Pride Month with all of you. Okay, so before we begin, very, very quickly, we just want to tell you a little bit about who we are as an organization and why do we do webinars like this. Okay, so we are Organic Intelligence. Organic Intelligence is primarily a marketing and communications think tank. We're really an insights to solutions house. So what we really do is we try to come up with solutions to any kind of problem that you would have, any thinking challenge that you could have. And we do that by harnessing local community and best-in-class global resources so that we can connect your organization to your intended and target audience, whether they are your customers or in the case of our team, with your internal employees and stakeholders. Okay, so how do we go about that? Okay, we do that by leveraging on our competencies. And our competencies are in the fields of marketing communications. So we do brand and people marketing planning, communications planning, design thinking, data design, visualization, and most especially branding. Okay. We also work in the field of market intelligence, and this one is really all about research. So how do you get the information that is relevant for you so you can make all kinds of informed decisions for your organization? And we do that via different methods. So we do qualitative and quantitative research. We do online, on-ground, digital, ethnographies, experiential, as well as new models of research. So another competency of Organic Intelligence falls in developmental communications. So this one, what we do is we really work with industries, with communities, Okay, and we do landscape scanning, we do health consumer insights, we build capacities of people in the community. Okay, and we also do a lot of behavior change and strategic communication. And the last competency is where I belong, and that is the group for people development. So in people development, what we do falls under three buckets. We do work in organizational development, we do work in trainings and workshops, and we also do coaching. So a little bit more about that. Okay, for people development, as I said, it really falls under three buckets. For organizational development, what we really do a lot of will be consultancy work. So we do end-to-end checks and audits and recommendations, and we work very, very closely with our partners so that we can come up with solutions that drive your organizational goals. Always anchored on your strategy, always anchored on your values and your vision, as well as your purpose. So for this, the work that we do covers developing systems and processes. It also goes into building the kind of culture that you want and really addressing many different gaps that impact the way an organization performs. We also do a lot of trainings and workshops. So here what we focus is the development of an individual so we can keep them engaged and productive so that they're able to accomplish the company's goals as well as their own personal and professional goals for themselves. So we do a lot of building mindset and skills. We work with teams, okay? We do a lot of programs for communication, negotiation, service, definitely for leadership. And then there are a lot of also situations where we do learning academies, understanding that normally the gaps and the needs are not really just falling under one particular space. So we do a series of workshops to address those different needs. And then we also work with training of trainers. So if you have an in-house team that you want to level up in terms of their skills, then we can also do that for you. So the last one is we do coaching. So here, the focus is really how do we improve a person so that they cross over certain personal barriers that are really getting in the way in terms of them becoming their best self. So whether that's in a professional space or in a personal space. So we do work with leaders for executive coaching, with teams and groups in organizations. There are also instances when we work one-on-one with identified people who may need that extra push. And we also do performance coaching that we give to amateur and professional sports teams. Okay, so who do we work with? Okay, a wide array of clients in different industries, from finance and investment to developmental communications to media and telco, products and services, food, health and wellness, as well as United Nations agencies. Okay, so we work continuously and a lot of them are recurring clients for us. We also leverage on the experience and our alliance with a community of agencies so we can work and provide you solutions that are more comprehensive, all the way from the thinking all the way to execution. Whether execution is IMC, you need PR, you need multimedia content, if you need digital communication, on ground activation. So we are a robust network of agencies that work together very closely. So what we can really deliver, okay, in terms of your marketing and your communication requirements. We also have a digital learning platform, which is Pocket Mentor, which is actually one of our strategic partnerships. Okay, we have memberships in SMR and in MORES for research. We're also part of the DOST network of agencies, as well as we have partnerships with the Ateneo Business Resource Center. We're a PhilJEPS member. And finally, our last partnership is together with Francis Kong. Okay, Organic Intelligence is a partner in Pocket Mentor, which is the first digital mentorship platform that really aims to inspire and motivate Filipinos so that they can live purposeful lives. And this is where we do asynchronous, okay, learning. So it's on demand and you can get it, through your phone or through the app. And we have a wide variety of mentors as well that you can learn from. Okay, so having said all that, okay, I'm sure you guys are so excited about this webinar. I definitely am. I've been looking forward to this because I can say for myself that it is also something I want to learn about. And I hope that after this, you walk away understanding this a little bit more and, like being given the tools in terms of how to begin this in your own organizations. So we'll be talking about that. But before I go, okay, I will introduce to you my partner for today who will be moderating the session primarily. I will be joining him again later. Okay, so his name is Robbie Shalsita. Robbie belongs to the People Development team. Robbie wears many hats. Okay, he is a behavior change expert. Okay, he is also a life coach. He works with leadership coaching. He's a father. He has worked in the academe. He's a baker. Okay, as a hobby, that's what he does. He's also an awarded theater actor. So there's a lot of things that he does. But for today, Robbie will be your the person who will walk you through what is it really about. Okay, do we have the right understanding of what inclusion is, and then bring in our special guest later on. Okay, so Robbie, welcome.
Hello, 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 everyone. Thank you, Sarah, for the introduction. Gusto ko yung baker. Okay, so, yes, one of the things I learned during this pandemic that baking does relax me a lot. So my family's happy because they get to eat freshly baked bread because I'm happy to do it. Okay, yes, thanks, Sarah. And Sarah will be just like Sarah. I'm really excited about today because today, other than our other formats that we've had for our webinars, we will really have just a talk. A talk about what is it like to be diverse and what is it like to be inclusive in the workplace setting, and how can we become allies of diversity and inclusivity in our own workspace and maybe even in our homes. So just to get everything started, let me first begin with saying that, of course, this was mentioned a while ago, that June is really Pride Month, when we celebrate our LGBTQA plus. I'm sorry, I hope I get that right. Brothers and sisters, and so we celebrate all of them, and we want to have that spirit of diversity and inclusivity within our workspaces. So let's have a little bit of a definition of what really does it mean to be diverse and inclusive. So first of all, diversity. Diversity really is about representation or the makeup of an entity or a corporation. And when we say the makeup, meaning that there's a balance between all ethnicities, gender preferences, all walks of life. People are well represented within your corporation or well within your organization. That is what diversity really is. And if you look at society, actually in the Philippines, it's pretty diverse, right? We have people who look like me, right? In the Philippines, na mukha daw akong foreigner pero marunong naman akong managalog. So it's a different ethnicity in my terms. So the Philippines is really diverse in terms of the people who live here and work here. But of course, we now need to understand, what does inclusion mean? Inclusion means is how well the contributions of presence and perspectives of different groups of people are valued and integrated into an environment. So, there is really a how do you say this? People get confused that when they say that their company is diverse, it doesn't automatically mean that your company is inclusive, right? Let me repeat that. Just because your organization or company is diverse, it doesn't mean that your company or organization is inclusive. Because inclusivity really means that we value everyone's contribution and everyone's perspectives, everyone's dignity as persons, and we put that into practice in the environment of our organizations. All right? So we put that into practice. We put diversity, we make our organizations diverse. So how do we now create a home? How do we now create that welcomeness or the welcoming atmosphere and telling people that you matter here in this organization? And I mean everybody. And I'm not just talking about the extroverts and the introverts. I'm talking about everybody, whether you are from a different social class, ethnicity, and gender, and different gender expression. So whatever that is, if we celebrate everyone's work and we give everyone equal opportunity to participate, and everyone is heard and everyone is safe psychologically, emotionally, mentally safe in that working environment, then you are being inclusive, right? Sounds good. Sounds good so far. Yes, of course. So a diverse and inclusive workplace really is just one that makes everyone, regardless of who they are or what they do for the business, makes them feel equally involved and supported in all areas of the workplace. So that is essentially what we mean by being diverse and inclusive. That's why you cannot separate the two. They go hand in hand. You have to be diverse and inclusive, right? Of course, you can be inclusive only, but not diverse, right? But diverse means that you have to be also inclusive. So inclusivity can live on its own, but diversity cannot. Okay? So diversity and inclusivity always come together. And this is really what it's all about, that we are supported, equally involved, and everyone is welcome, regardless of who they are, what they believe in, and where they came from. So this is in all areas of the workplace. So let's look at a survey really that was done some time ago that gave us a little bit of what benefits we can get by being diverse and inclusive in our workplace. So the first is really to have the higher revenue and growth. When people feel that they belong somewhere, they're more engaged. And we had a webinar about this, I think it was 2 months back, about employee engagement, where we spoke about how people who are included and who feel that they are a part of the organization and that they contribute and their contributions matter, how they are more engaged as employees. So it drives productivity and it drives a higher revenue growth to being when you are diverse and when you are inclusive. Next is that there is a greater readiness to innovate because we are more open now to everyone's input. Okay? We're more open to people's inputs because everybody comes from different backgrounds, have different experiences, and everyone is welcome to bring in these new ideas. Next is increased ability to recruit a diverse talent pool. Of course, your world now expands. If you are a truly diverse organization, you have a limitless number of people that you can tap into, limitless number of talent that we can tap into in order to create a progressive and a productive, efficient organization. The survey also and the research paper also said that it's 5.4 times higher employee retention. Who wouldn't want that? Who wouldn't want to hire good people and keep them there, right? And keep them there so that you're always productive, you're always generating new ideas, you're always current, and you're always innovative. So the research said that diverse and inclusive organizations have 5.4 times higher employee retention than the traditional kind of organizations. So inclusion in the workplace is one of the most important keys to retention. Okay? Inclusion, right? And again, I said, if you're going to weigh it, yes, diversity and inclusion go hand in hand, but inclusion is really, really important. That in the workplace really is important to employee retention. And that's what this research showed us. All right. So given that, diversity really is what you see. We can see it in organizations, how diverse people are in the organizations or corporations that we probably work in right now or worked in before. But inclusion really is, what do you do now when people are in your organization? If it's diverse, great, but what happens? So diversity is what you see, inclusion is what you do about it. So let's look at how is it faring in the Philippines. I said that in the Philippines, we're naturally diverse. There's really a diverse culture here in the Philippines. And so how does that now impact the workplace in the Philippines? Well, this was a survey that found that companies, Filipino companies, are not really accepting or have not really accepted our LGBTQ plus brethren, okay, within their organizations. There are not many. I'm not saying that all, I'm just saying that there are not many right now. And for years now, there has been a general consensus, right, regarding the Filipinos' attitudes, towards the LGBTQ plus. So we are tolerant, but not accepting. Okay, there's a difference, right? We are tolerant, but we're not accepting. And not only that, a recent survey of the Philippine Corporate Soji Diversity and Inclusiveness Index of 2018, it suggested that in the corporate setting, we may not even be at the level of tolerance yet. Can you imagine that? We're not accepting and we're not even tolerant. So which means many corporations are turning down people who are so qualified just because they have a different gender expression from themselves, right? Just because they belong to the LGBTQ plus community. And so that index is something that's glaring. We may be in a diverse culture, or we may have a lot of a diverse culture here in the Philippines, but we have not really fully embraced the value that the LGBTQ plus community brings into the workplace. So let's look at the numbers in the Philippine workplace of diversity and inclusivity. 25% of the respondents in that survey have experienced harassment from their employers or superior officers. 25%. All right, that's huge, right? That's like 3 out of 10 people have experienced it. 33% have experienced harassment from co-workers. Okay, harassment from co-workers. So can you imagine that? Sorry, 25%, that's 4 out of 10. I'm sorry. where's my where's my numbers anyway? So can you imagine that 33% experience harassment from coworkers, and 60% have been subject to slurs and jokes in the workplace? And that's a form of bullying as well, right? When we are attacked, even in the form of a joke about who we are, who we are inside and what choices we've made in life, it hurts us, right? It hurts us. And so 60% of our LGBTQ plus workers have experienced that. That's more than half, more than 50%. Can you imagine? And 17% of companies with some form of SOGI inclusivity, right? Or non-discrimination policy, all are from the BPO sector. Okay, that's a whole different webinar, I suppose, on why that is. But can you imagine? Only 17% of companies nationwide, and these 17% are all in the BPO industry. Only in one industry that's here in the Philippines. Can you imagine that? So not everyone. There's still a lot of work that we need to do. And 0 Philippine-based companies implementing policies meant to protect their employees from SOGI-based discrimination. 0. We have no policies. There are no policies in place We don't know if I guess there's another survey about that. Is it really uncomfortable for us to be talking about it? Is it something that we cannot really specifically pinpoint? But these numbers are alarming. And it's high time that we try to do something about it. All right, that we try to do something because we're losing valuable talent from people who are part of our LGBTQ plus community. So let's here are some phrases that you might recognize, and for some of you like me, maybe at first you might think there's nothing wrong with it, but if you really look at it, these are maybe the top 8 things that you should not say to people, even if it was a joke. And these are examples of what you might see. So tomboy ka pala, or so let's put out all, and then so that you can see everything. So, who's the guy in your relationship? Or sayang, gwapo ka pa naman, or maganda ka pa naman. So, things like that. Phase lang yan. So the person who's saying that's probably in denial. Ayaw nilang tanggapin that their friend or the people that they know. Uy, may friend ako na LGBTQ+. So trying to make a defense of their own maybe comments that they made against LGBTQ plus, in saying that, well, uy, may friend naman kasi ako so I have a right, and that's not true. So these are phrases that we somehow should avoid. Not somehow, we should avoid them. Okay, altogether, we should avoid these phrases to our LGBTQ plus friends and family members if we have them. So because they're not good. It's not good for them. It's insulting, and is very demeaning towards them. And we'll get more in depth as to why that is, and when we start going into our chat session with our special guests today. More than that, I mean, what's happening in the workplace? Here are just a few samples that we've gotten from the internet, and mind you, these are posts from actual HR practitioners, and so we need to address them, of course, in the workplace, because what we're talking about here is that we want our corporations to be allies, right? We want our corporations to be allies in this struggle of being inclusive. And I say inclusive to everyone. And right now, for us, inclusivity, really the battle is within the LGBTQ plus community. In other countries, it's a wider battle. They have battle for the female, for anyone who is female, and then you have the LGBTQ plus. There's even those Black Lives Matter. But in the Philippines, right now, what the community that needs allyship at this moment really is the LGBTQ plus community, because there's so much talent, there's so much that we can tap into, and there's so much that we don't understand. And so we need to understand, and we need to make corrections, we need to make amendments, and we need to figure out how we can tap into that community and be more inclusive in our organizations. So without further ado, okay, we will move on now to our coffee table discussion. Kahit na walang coffee table sa harap ko ngayon. Okay, we're going to move on to our coffee table discussion, and we will call on our first guest. We have 3 guests for today. And our first guest for today is Michael Santos. So Michael is a recognized operations strategist with more than 24 years of experience, having a solid background in building and managing leaders in information technology. Most recently, he was the Asia Pacific Regional Manager for Information Technology at Chevron Holding Incorporated. Michael is currently the treasurer and member of the Board of Trustees at the Philippine Financial and Inter-Industry Pride. So everyone watching on Facebook Live and YouTube, please welcome Mr. Michael Santos.
Hi, Robbie. Hi,
Hello,
everyone.
Michael.
Good afternoon. Can you
Hello,
hear me?
hello. Yeah,
Hi.
I can hear you. Hi,
So
hi, Michael.
thank you for that
Yes,
nice introduction, Robbie, and thank you. Today is June 30, right? So, what a
yes,
way to
yes.
celebrate the last day of the Pride Month by having this webinar.
Mm-hmm, mm-hmm. Yeah, yeah, okay. And thanks for being with us, Michael. And because we're really excited to hear your thoughts and what you think about or what you've experienced, on your own side. Because in the survey we kind of referenced the survey that you referenced earlier was 3 years ago, around 2018. So has anything changed, from that time to now, in terms of allyship and diversity and inclusivity in the workplace?
I would say yes. There's a lot of changes. In the
Mhm.
past, it's more of like retention. Having a diverse and inclusive company is a way to retain talents. But right now, it's also a way for a company to attract talents. Now it's a
Mhm.
pull talents and then retain them. It's a attraction and retention already of talents. And a lot
Okay.
of companies have been addressing this. In the past, it allowed multinational companies who are having diversity and inclusion as part of their values. And slowly, at least slowly, the local companies are already starting to incorporate inclusive and diversity in their values too.
Great. And that's good news. At least there was some progress, diba?
Yes.
From 2018 to now, and although we know that there's still a lot. Now we're here also to talk about allyship, right? And to be an ally and all that. So what does that really mean, allyship, in terms of diversity and inclusivity here in the Philippines?
So allyship is more than being sympathetic towards those who experience discrimination.
Mm-hmm.
Hindi awa or not just being or sympathizing to a person. It is more than simply believing in equality. Being an ally
Mm-hmm.
means willing to act and others to pursue in ending of oppression and creating equality. So that's what allyship means.
Okay. So in terms of so when you're talking about allyship in terms of policy and compliance or policy compliance, so what would be the difference between that? Because we can have policies, right, that somehow will help build the allyship there. But is there a difference between policy compliance versus having an ally mindset?
Yes, definitely. In policy is a set of documents. It's vetted by your
Okay.
leaders. It's submitted to corporate. It gets approval. It's sort of
Mhm.
like a Bible or a law within the company. While a mindset
Mhm.
or an ally mindset is more of a mindset or mental attitude. So it's our feelings, it's our mental attitude towards a person. So
Okay.
for
All
me,
right.
policy cannot be broken. It's supposed to be followed.
Mhm.
While ally mindset, it's not a policy, so everybody has that mental mindset that we could own.
Okay. All right. Thank you. So yeah, so policies nga can't be broken. It's there.
Oo.
It's written in stone, di ba? And the mindset is something that's a little bit more malleable, di ba? We can
Yep,
pwedeng magbago, pwedeng mag-progress, di ba?
you can
So
influence.
yeah, so in a I guess in a company that's not yet there, that mindset can help bring about changes, to its diversity and inclusivity policies, if ever.
Correct.
Right, right. So okay, so given that if you have an ally mindset, right? How would an ally then behave? Are there any red flags that we should look out for to know that a person or a company is not being an ally? Is there a way?
I think one of the commonly visible red flag, if you have a fake ally, I'm gonna use the word fake ally in your organization, is that you are being treated as a checklist. You're
Okay.
just a checklist. Once I tick this, it's done. I'm being inclusive. If I show
Oh.
up in an event, I'm done. I'm being inclusive. If I wear your Pride Network lanyard, if I wear your flag, that's already an ally. But that's not the right allyship. When you're an ally, you have to stand up for your friends. You have to speak, you have to hear, you have to learn how to listen, and you have to stand for people and always be with them. It's not about telling their stories, right? It's
Mhm.
it's more of like standing with them when they need you and when they ask you to.
Right, right. Okay, so it's really, yeah, it's more of the behavior, di ba? Yung nakikita nga
Yeah.
na when things are tough, or let's say when you have to make a stand on something, it goes beyond just wearing something that shows that you're supporting, but it's really the actions, the way that you say it, how you
Correct.
empathize, right? How you empathize
Yes.
with your coworker who's probably also from the LGBTQ plus community, and that would be more of how an ally should act.
And
Yeah.
and
Okay.
Robbie,
Yeah.
being an ally,
Mhm.
it's the willingness to sacrifice in order for us to have a better life. So you need to
Right.
have that willingness.
Mhm. I like
You
that. I
have
like
to,
that you said that willingness, no?
yes,
Kasi pwedeng,
willingness to sacrifice. Yes.
yeah,
Yung
yeah,
iba
yeah,
kasi
yeah.
talaga, it's very visible. They attend your Pride network, they attend the Pride parade, they wear the rainbow pin. Pero
Mhm.
hindi yun eh. It's not the definition of an ally.
Right,
It's like
right.
building your partnership. What would you do to your partner? What would you
Mhm.
do to your loved one? That's how an ally should be.
Right, right. You mentioned it nga a while ago na parang ano eh, hindi lang siya basta checklist, right?
Yes.
Hindi lang siya checklist in the process or the onboarding, or in practice na okay, I did this today, so I'm an ally, no? Hindi ganoon. It's something
Oh,
that goes deeper, no? Something that goes
yeah.
deeper and all that. Yeah.
And a lot of the managers right now would always say that, Uy, I attended your Pride event. Uy, I have a gay friend. Uy, I watched this movie. Uy, I attended a Soji session. It's not about attending. It's being present. It's being for them.
Right, right. Galing. Okay, sige. So at least we're getting a clearer view of what allyship really is. And so, do you have like any suggestions on how can we integrate now allyship in organizations, like for the employee journey? Because you have experience in corporate, working in Chevron,
Mhm.
right? And in the IT profession also. So parang, how can we integrate allyship now in our own organizations?
So there's a lot of things. There's online seminars, webinars, but
Mhm.
what a company should really do is to educate, educate, and educate. It all
Right.
boils down to education, understanding your biases, knowing your biases, and at the same time equipping yourself with the right Soji. So
Right.
that's the sexual orientation, gender identification, and expression that will make you understand a Soji of a person. So not a lot
Mhm.
of companies have that Soji session yet, di ba? Pero
Yeah.
many companies already would like it to become a mandatory training during onboarding.
Mhm.
Para when a company opens the door to you, it's not good morning, sir, ma'am. It's really addressing who you are. Good morning, sir, or good morning, ma'am. So that's how
Mhm.
Soji actually works. Starting from your lowest entity in the office, your staff, your maintenance, to the management. So Soji
Mhm.
training would be very good to all levels in an organization. And of course,
Right.
understanding as well your biases.
Right. Right. Okay, that's good. At least yeah, I mean, there are not many corporations that do that, 'di ba? I mean, I'm in the people development area, right? And it's true, there are not many. I have yet to see a corporation that talks about it, that talks about
Mhm.
this. There are companies, maybe the larger companies, that have diversity and inclusivity as a specific program within their organization, and I feel that's good. And I think that that's something that other companies should start exploring, especially the even the small to medium enterprises, para lang,
Correct.
people are more educated nga on how to become better allies when it comes to diversity and inclusivity.
And
Okay, great.
there's
Yes.
there's a lot of free sessions ongoing. We have Rainbow Rights
Mhm.
who conduct free sessions as well, and which is a part of
Okay.
PFIP. And PFIP also does free sessions for companies who would like to understand Soji.
Mhm. Okay. All right. So for all of our partners who are actually watching, there you go. PFIP, or the Philippine Financial and Inter-Industry Pride
Right.
uh, group. They have workshops. If you're interested, for those of you who are watching on Facebook Live and on YouTube, they have free. Tama ba ang narinig ko? Free.
Mhm. Yes, it's a free training pa. So ngayon it's
There
free,
you
especially
go.
for members. But you can, for
Okay.
non-members, you can still tap PFIP to be able to understand what Soji means.
All right, great. So you can, if you're a member, you can attend for free to get a better understanding of Soji, and what you can do to integrate allyship into your companies and organizations. Now, I promised everyone who is watching that we have two more guests. So Michael, please stay. We still want to hear more from you, but I would like at this point to bring in two other people who will really, full circle, bring everything to full circle, but their own experiences with diversity and inclusivity. So let me introduce our two other guests. We have Chai Agoncillo. Chai is an experienced media and communications professional in the outsourcing and offshoring industry, currently working as a social media specialist at Cytel Philippines. So she is known as an equal rights believer, advocating diversity and inclusion in the Philippine corporate setting, and working with several organizations to promote SOGI and LGBTQIA plus rights in the workplace. All right, so that's Chai. We also have with us Ryan Pronstroller. Okay. So Ryan is a creative by heart with more than 20 years. He started when he was 10. Ganun, as a creative. Ganun eh. Okay, so and he has that experience in advertising and integrated marketing communications. He also channeled his passion for understanding human behavior through studying and being certified as a neuro-linguistic programming practitioner, just like me and Sarah. By the end, he was certified by the Asia Pacific Council of NLP. He is a freelance learning program designer and facilitator and a content creator, collaborating with brands as a witty, wicked, and wise persona on social media. Siya nagsulat niyan. Okay. So, yes. So, ladies and gentlemen, those of you who are watching, please welcome Chai and Ryan. So, Chai and Ryan, welcome. You are here today. Yeah, and all right, here we have, and may I
Hello.
call back also to our forum here, Sarah Ramos. So you guys don't know Sarah. She's my partner in organic intelligence and people development. She started her career in the academe, so she is a teacher by heart, and she has her MA in organizational development, and she's our go-to gal when it comes to a lot of these topics about about diversity also, and about people. So she knows people really well. So Sarah, welcome back. And we would love to hear your insights also, as well as we talk to Michael, Ryan, and Chai, and we will have our Q&A for now. So, I was really holding back, Michael, no, because I was giving you all the technical questions, but now the big guns are gonna come out in this talk, and I just quickly, I know that nakita namin kanina yung mga comments, that people make.
Oh,
Like, if I met Ryan, I would have said, "Sayang guwapo ka pa naman." Di ba? Right? Like, what goes through your mind when you hear things like that? And and maybe it might be innocent to other people, but and we want to be sensitive. So, so what can you say about those comments? Ryan, Chai, or Michael? How you saw that a while ago. Sige, anyone can start.
Chai. Chai, go
Chai.
ahead. Triggered ka eh.
Oo,
Oh my
Na-trigger
God.
ka kanina backstage eh.
It's a whole wall of like trigger questions that like I can hear my mom, my relatives telling me that it's just a phase, and then the other one who's the guy in the relationship, it's like asking chopsticks which one's the fork or the spoon because they're like two of the same things, parang
Oo nga
ganon.
ka.
Oo nga
Oh, di
naman.
ba? Parang chopsticks nga kami. Paano magkakakutsara at saka tinidor dyan? Okay ka lang. Parang ganon. Or, or yung actually, part of the triggers yung, ay, hindi ka halata. Para kayong mag-best friend. Kami nung referring to myself and my partner. And I'm like, no. Tapos meron pang sayang ang jeans, yung mga ganyan. Na, it feels like gusto nilang puriin ka, but still want.
I think we
Oh,
I
we
think
lost
we lost Chai. Okay. So
Saya.
we'll
So maybe you get siya, yung puri, parang nag-gets ko yun eh. Yung parang gusto nilang
sige, go.
puri ka. But, there's
Mm,
always this but.
there's a but. Oh, yeah.
So parang, huwag ka na lang pumuri kung may but lagi. Diba?
Correct. That's true.
Pero
That's true.
Sige,
Go
go
ahead.
ahead, Mike.
Sige, for me kasi yung trigger na yun laging sayang. So I always ask them, bakit sayang? Ano bang mali? Diba? Wala namang sayang.
Tsaka sayang para kanino? Para yo, kung pangit ka, hindi sasayangan sa amin yun. Diba?
Ang ganda nung ang ganda nung ganung perspective. May comeback ako sa'yo, maghintay ka. I think especially for the things that are commonly said. And in my experience, they're very casually, okay, thrown around. And it never feels, tapos, di ba, may instances pa that when you feel like, hey, that's not right, people don't actually understand that they're not supposed to say things like that. In your experience, especially like Ryan, in the workplace, if you experience something like that, aside from, like a witty comeback, what are the ways that we can really help them understand that it's just not something you should be doing because it is hurtful for other people?
Siguro to help the audience and everybody or the general society to understand how one feels when being asked those kinds of questions or statements would be as have you ever ito na lang as an example, have you ever wanted to study a certain course or become a certain professional but your parents didn't want to? Dad, I want to be a doctor. Hindi, mag-i-engineer ka. There's a strong, powerful negation of your freedom when you are being asked that question or being said some common statements that we do. And the interesting part of that would be, I grew up in a society that I myself thought that was okay. Telling other people na parang, alam, maganda ka, sayang. I'd be guilty of that, before when I was growing up. It would make you feel negated, and parang ako growing up, I felt like there's something wrong with me. Because every time they say that, it negates something that you couldn't put a finger on. It's just like a parent telling you, huwag ka mag-doctor, mag-engineer ka. How do you respond to that? How do you take that as a person? So much more as an LGBTQIA community, part of the community. So when someone says that, and I hear that a lot of times, I can relate to two of those questions that you showed. One is, bisexual ka, hindi face lang yan. Nagmi-midlife crisis pa rin pala ako hanggang ngayon. For me, parang for the longest time, up until now, I still get attracted to both genders. So, it's not a phase. Hanggang kailan tong phase na to? And the sad part is, I only accepted that recently. Adult na ako when I realized, no, talagang I'm bisexual. That's my sexual orientation. Right? That's one. Another statement there is yung gwapo ka sana, kaya lang bading ka. Parang, paano ako naging sayang? I mean, for me, ang sayang, pag wala kang trabaho, pag wala kang tinutulong sa community, pag palamunin ka, yun ang sayang. Sayang ang effort naman ng ni God na gawin ka tapos wala kang ginagawa. Diba? But you know, in my experience, a lot of the LGBTQI plus community members are very, very productive. And they're very highly intelligent and highly skillful. So, you know, that's how it makes me feel. And I hope that analogy of, you know, your parents telling you not to take one course over the other makes you understand a little bit of how it feels.
Yeah, no, absolutely. That makes a lot of sense to me. And I think, you know, like speaking as somebody from like who's not part of the community, I hear a lot of these comments from my friends, and I think at the core, what we're doing is we're trying to impose our own beliefs, our
Absolutely.
own systems, and the way we want to live to other people. And I think that's something that we can probably be more mindful about. That our rules are not the rules for everybody, or the way that we make decisions is really not how everybody makes decisions, right? Even within the straight community, come on, it's not like everybody decides on the same thing, diba? Likes the same shows, watches the same
Yeah.
things, have the same interests. So I think from that perspective, and coming from your example about, because it's asking you to change something that is at the core of who you are, which I think
Yeah.
makes it so difficult, and expecting people to adhere to, hey, this is how I see the world, right? This is how I understand the world to be. And if you don't fit into that, then I'll try to make sense of that by, you know, throwing those comments or asking you, that maybe this is temporary, you know. So, yun, na parang baka yun yung perspective na hindi din kasi natin naintindihan that hindi naman tayo para-pareho in the way that we live, whether it's for trivial things and more so for very important, you know, matters. And we've been focusing a lot on, you know, like what triggers us. And I understand kasi yun talaga yung nakaka-trigger. Yung ginagawa namin kapag nasa trigger kami for you guys. But I think I'll ask this question as somebody who's an outsider in the community. But I do have a lot of friends, right, who belong there. But what can I do practically to be a better ally? I know Michael shared certain tips about it, and you know, like even jumping certain perceptions of what we may think allyship is about, na hindi porke nagsuot ka niyan or kung nag-attend ka, yun na yun. But
Correct.
on a very practical way, like,
True.
what can I do? You know, Michael, when you were talking, the thing that really resonated with me in terms of what I can do is really listen. Makinig ka lang, di ba? Pag may sabihin nila,
Exactly.
makinig ka. Yeah. So, from your experiences, what other very practical things can we do? Kasi nga akala nung tao, oh, nag-attend na naman ako ha. Sinuot ko naman yung t-shirt today ah. Okay na yun. Diba? Pero,
Punutan mo agad.
Lugi kayo sa akin.
Ay,
Hindi pwede kayo na
hindi pwede si Robby.
You have to listen and identify where are they coming from. Kasi usually they don't know. Diba? That's the basic conception. Parang akala nila, alam nila, pero they don't know. So you have to listen, know where they're coming from. So you could also tell the story kung ano ba talagang allyship.
Okay.
Yun yung pinaka-basic na narinig. Kasi even in the LGBT community, di ba marami pa ring mga
True.
factions yan. So even kami in the LGBT community, we are also allies of the factions, of the cliques.
Yeah.
Diba? Kasi may mga ano-ano pa rin yan eh, area, space.
Right.
So kami, we listen, we try to be with them, we partner with them, and understand them. Ako yun yung ginagawa ko.
Mhm.
so, for me, wag nyo lang kaming alalahanin every June.
Oo, correct.
every Pride Month. Wag, like,
Palanggana.
di ba? Kasi, oo, sige, pasukahin nyo kami ng rainbows every June. I mean, like, yeah, that's fine because it's a celebration. It's also, but remember that it's also a protest. And that
Right.
protest has been going on. It's not just in 1 month.
Yeah.
It's forever until whatever rights a heterosexual couple can have or a normal family can have, we can have. Because it's
Yeah.
not gonna stop there. It's not gonna stop after Pride Month. It's not
Correct.
gonna stop after the Soji SE bill is passed. In fact, that's where it begins. You just
Yeah.
also have to educate, like allies have to be educated on Soji SE because it doesn't necessarily mean that a person is transgender na kailangan operada na sila and stuff like they have to be everybody has to be Soji educated because it's not just for us
True. True.
it's for everybody else.
Yeah. Yeah.
True. Everybody has a Soji, ha? Even cisgender
Yes.
male and cisgender female species, you have a Soji. So you have to understand what it is.
Mm-mm.
For me, where do you start? I feel like it all boils down. I mean, we're talking about an organization. How can an organization become more inclusive or more diverse and all that? But it all boils down to the individual. Diba? How can you translate D&I, diversity and inclusivity, in a policy, in an organization, if a person is not innately diverse and accepting, right? So we begin. Ako feeling ko we have to begin. Individuals have to begin to accept that they are discriminating. A lot of people, both straight and the LGBTQI plus people, they're discriminating. You have to accept it personally before you move forward. Kasi a lot of people, especially parents, I mean the parents of my parents' generation, they can't accept that things are changing. They can't accept that there is such a thing as LGBTQIA plus, a community that is struggling. Now, if you want to allow me to ask a question to your audience, no, especially to the straight and cisgender audience here, those especially who have, like, I have gay friends, I have tomboy friends, I'm inclusive and I'm diverse as a person, but really they don't. If you say that it's okay to have a friend, okay lang yan, meron akong, kunyaring anak mo or ikaw, meron akong barkadang bading, okay yan. Okay lang ba yon? What if anak mo ang nagsabi? What if one of your children says, Dad, Mom, I am LGBTQIA+. How will you feel? If you feel uncomfortable, then you're discriminating. So I'll start answering that question first. Okay lang if yung anak mo merong kaibigan bading, pero what if yung anak mo bading? Or what if yung anak mo lesbian? If it makes you feel uncomfortable, then you're discriminating. That's where it starts. Accept that you're discriminating. Then you can move on to understanding, empathizing, actually mauuna ng respect. Kasi you don't have to understand something to respect it first.
Yeah.
You have to respect it first so you can understand it. Respect that it's different. We are different. Everybody's different. You're different. Na may possibility na yung magkaroon ka ng family member, a brother, a sister, a parent, even a parent who apparently is LGBTQIA. Diba? If you feel uncomfortable with that question, that's where it always begins. You have to accept that first before we move on to, policy making, etc. So, yun.
Okay, thank you. So, I mean,
Malalim.
Hugot na hugot.
hugot na hugot. Oh,
Ryan.
parang dami pinagdaan.
Ryan.
Okay. So we wanna field in questions also now from our audience, and let's take in one question in here. So, how do I know if I'm not being an ally? So I guess this goes to anyone, but maybe I'll start with Michael.
Um, if you're an ally, you wouldn't know that you're not an ally kasi freely mo siyang binibigay. You wouldn't notice that you're an ally kasi kusang loob. You wouldn't tell the difference. That's how I see it. Kasi it's a partnership. It's supposed to come naturally. Pero if you're conscious, am I being an ally? Tama ba yung pagiging ally? Maybe hindi mo rin tanggap pa or you still lack that education. Maybe you're the one having the face, di ba? Parang, should I be just making friends with them? Or am I really part of them?
Yeah.
Parang relationship, pag nagmahal ka, mahal mo naman talaga, di ba? Hindi naman mahal mo 50% or 75%. When you love, you give it all. So when you are an ally, you give it all as well.
Okay. All right. And how about you, Chai or Ryan?
Go
I
check.
guess the
Chai.
question should be, how can I be a better ally? Siguro dapat. Kasi, ayun ka na, andun ka na sa questioning portion na, alay ba ako? Or ano lang to? Or chika lang to? Parang ganon. Maybe, the next question there is, what can you do? And, the best way to be an ally is to be educated.
Right.
To make yourself be aware of the different spectrums of your Soji SC or a person Soji SC and how to understand each spectrum. And how to also overcome your personal biases. Because your personal biases actually contribute to your subconscious or unconscious microaggression that you have.
Right.
Diba? So yun. Yun for me. Na,
Okay.
Educate yourself.
Right.
I think, just to chime in, I once, a very popular author, Robin knows very well because we reference her work a lot. She does a lot of work on courage, and her name is Dr. Brené Brown. And she talks about this, discrimination and inclusivity, and in terms of how do I know if I'm not being an ally. Alam, meron siyang magandang insight. Sabi niya, if you're uncomfortable to have conversations about it, that's okay. The discomfort is fine. That is natural. But if it stops you from having conversations just because you are uncomfortable to have these conversations, then, sabi niya, that is the best example of privilege. Kasi your discomfort and your comfort level is what dictates the conversations that you will participate in. So essentially, di ba, parang kung ano lang yung gusto ko at kung ano yung sanay ako, yun lang yung pag-uusapan natin.
Yes.
And I think from, this question kasi is how do I know if I'm not being an ally? Maybe that's also one way of looking at it. If you catch yourself and you're uncomfortable and you choose not to even clarify, hey, what does this mean? Or is this wrong? Or, I'm confused about something like this. If you do not have those conversations just because, ayoko pag-usapan ko, nakahiya, or, I'm so uncomfortable by this topic, I think that is a huge red flag in terms of, maybe you are not being an ally. There.
Yeah.
Pero actually, it's... Sige lang.
Go.
No, wala lang. Parang kasi for me, it's the uncomfortable conversations that make it more meaningful eh.
Yes.
If you're willing to go through those uncomfortable conversations, if you're willing to open yourself to those uncomfortable conversations, then you can be a better ally.
Yeah. That makes a lot of sense. Absolutely. Okay. We have a follow-up to this question. Okay? For Chai.
Oh my
Specifically
God.
dedicated to you, Chai.
Grand Chai.
Oh my God.
Okay. And I think this question is because we have been saying that, the best way to be an ally is really to educate yourself.
Yes.
Then I think the question is, how do you educate yourself? What are the things that you can expose yourself to?
Expose yourself to Michael. Soji SC classes. No, I'm not even kidding. It's actually really having a partner in your company, especially in your learning and development team, to come up with a course for Soji SE,
Yeah.
or just bite-sized. You don't really have to sit down on a full day course. No, it's not. You can do bite-sized pieces of these courses, which is what we did for our page, for our company's page, that we had 1 minute videos dissecting and simplifying Soji SC, so that other people can understand, yun pala yung sex characteristics. Eto pala yung gender identity and gender expression. Eto pala yung sexual orientation. Ganito pala yung inclusive language. Because the resources for you to educate yourself in dealing, or in speaking with people, or speaking with the LGBTQIA plus community, it's everywhere.
Mhm.
Yeah.
It's everywhere. So also you can contact Michael also
Yes.
for
PFIP,
PFIP.
PFIP.
Oo.
Because
Thank you, Sai.
honestly, I'm Soji trained because of PFIP.
Mhm.
And ako din, just to segue, hindi ko alam ang Soji before. Nalaman
Yeah.
ko lang talaga siya when I started to join organization na marami palang spectrum ito.
Yes, me too.
Even myself, I had to educate myself.
Yeah.
Right. Okay. So that's something that maybe our viewers or many other people don't realize, that just because you're part of the LGBTQIA plus community, parang sabihin na, alam na nila yan. So apparently, even you guys have to be educated. And I think
Yes.
that's something that
Yes.
should be noted, because it could happen that, the person who is in charge can also be part of the LGBTQIA plus community, but then still discriminates
Yes.
with people from the same community, and that's something that's interesting to me. I mean, that's interesting to me that that can happen, and I see you guys are agreeing that nangyayari nga pala yun, ano? And I think we lost Mike.
Ang ano pa dyan, the more interesting part about that is the LGBTQI, those who are discriminating, those who are part of the community who are discriminating their community in the LGBTQI plus community are hiding from the fact that they're part of the community. Ay, hindi kami discriminate. We don't discriminate kasi ka-community ko yan eh. But actually, I have personal experiences of LGBTQI members who are very discriminating against me personally. And I've been in the industry. I'm in the industry of advertising and marketing communications, who are these brilliant members of the community are marami sila dyan, di ba? And they're very discriminating against not because of my skills, but because of my gender identity. So and then they wear the flag because they have the right to wear the flag because they're part of the community, but they don't live it. So really, even us, we need to educate ourselves because we all grew up in a homophobic society. We all grew up in a homophobic society. So we have to, even us, we have to educate ourselves.
Okay. I think we have some. Thank you for that, guys. I know it's 5, but if we don't have anything else after this, we can just keep going. Okay, because we do have a lot more questions and comments from people. So some of the comments that were going to be flashing. Okay, kilala niyo siya. If you're an ally, you will see everyone equally. Okay?
Yes.
That's beautiful. So, ang ganda. Na parang you don't see, I guess you see past certain obvious things that separate us. Growing up, I actually heard that. Alam mo, at the end of the day, tao sa tao lang naman yan.
That's
diba?
true.
Yes.
So, I think we can connect on that level. Like Ryan was saying earlier, it's really about respect. Okay, so Thank you to Ring Quinto for the comment. If you're an ally, you will see everyone equally. Next one,
Yeah.
we have
Next
from Sean.
Sean
Ala,
and Diane.
Sean.
Allyship requires
Ay.
support of the
Maganda na,
community
no?
beyond a personal level. Allyship isn't having gay friends. Allyship is joining the protest, the fight for legislative recognition and social acceptance. Yes,
Okay.
yes. Okay, thank you, Sean, for that
Ano yung profile
call.
picture ni Sean? Ang saya niya. Okay, so it was interesting to me because in this comment it says, to join the protest to fight for legislative recognition. So while one side of it is actually a mindset, parang I think based on what we're hearing also, it doesn't stop there. That
Yeah.
mindset has to be accompanied by some kind of behavior, some kind of
Mhm.
action that actually creates or like facilitates some kind of change for the people in the community. Okay, thank you, Sean, for that comment. I
Thank
think
you,
we have a
Sean.
question. Yeah,
Here.
from Ricardo Santillan. Ang formal ng name niya, si RJ to. Friend
Ricardo.
namin siya. Oo. Hello, sabi ni Ricardo. Also known as RJ.
RJ.
Hello, how do companies craft policies anchored on allyship while steering clear of making it seem like you're just complying to a checklist? Diba? Parang I guess if we're talking about policies, and we actually had that as one of the questions, how do you
Mhm.
create a more inclusive and productive environment via policy that will not feel or that you're just, diba, parang wala nang masabi or para lang we
Hindi
go
na siya
through the
lip
whole
service.
yeah.
It's a long journey. Yung masasabi ko dyan, it's really a long journey. In my experience, I used to work for this company. I'm not gonna name the name of the company, pero they were asking me about numbers. I was
Mhm.
pushing for domestic partner benefits. So they were asking me how many numbers of employees will get the benefit. I replied to them, you don't need numbers. You just need one big soul to lodge that benefit. Kasi wala rin naman tayong target if we have heterosexual benefits, di ba? Why not just have that benefit? And then pag may nag-apply, then good. It's a way for us to attract and retain talents.
Mhm.
In your
Pero it's gonna be a
experience,
journey.
I
It's
think
gonna be a journey.
my follow-up question to this is there still really a big gap when it comes to the policies in organizations? Kunyari, when you talk about benefits, right?
Mm.
When you talk about, like certain things that may be extended to some, but because you're part of the LGBTQIA community, it is not extended to you.
It depends on the person you're talking to. If you're the person you're talking to has that fixed mindset, who is the checklist ally, he will not entertain. That's why in an organization, you need to find that true ally that could help you fight for it and then grant that opportunity or benefit for the LGBT. You have to know your partners, di ba? You have to select the
Right,
right
right,
partners and the right channel.
Right.
Pero you don't
right.
you don't need to oppose them. You just need to understand them. Maybe they don't just understand it right now. So look for
Mhm.
another partner para ma-push din yung initiative. Kasi you're not doing anything wrong about it. What you're doing is doing it right. You don't need numbers. You just have to do it right.
Yeah.
Right,
Yeah. And I
right.
think for a lot of companies, at least when we were doing the research for today, it's really, you'll see still a lot of, wala naman yan sa dole. So, hindi ko yan kailangan gawin.
Oo nga eh.
So, oo, marami pa rin talagang ganun. So, I don't know. Maybe an easy answer would be just to revisit and how well, for this particular question, it's really a matter of are you just doing it to comply or are you doing it because you want to make and I
Do
go
it
back to
right.
how what
Mhm.
inclusion is and inclusivity is. Are you doing it to comply or are you doing it because you want them to feel like they are valued and they are safe and accepted in this particular organization? And I think then that crosses over from hindi naman masamang mag-checklist, diba? Okay lang yun. Meron ka pa rin na ito yung very quick wins. Pero if you're going beyond that, maybe that's something to also think about.
Pero kasi Miss Sarah, marami ring mga no-cost benefit na pwedeng ibigay to an LGBT. Ayan yung mga
Yeah.
pronouns, ayan yung mga addressing their correct
Dress.
names. So, hindi lang lahat naman may cost eh. You can start with the no cost benefit kung tawagin or low hanging fruits.
Okay, so there are no, o nga naman, wala namang cost kung gusto mo siyang tawagin na her,
Or correct.
diba? So tama yun. And I think that will be very quick wins for an organization because somehow they think there's always a monetary, there's an equivalent, an investment required to create policy.
Right.
You have to assemble a team. But you're right, absolutely. Just addressing them in the way that they want to be
That's
addressed is already a very, very big thing. Okay, do we have any more
I
questions?
think we have a question. So, being out is a personal choice, not for everyone. Do you think that companies are entitled to ask what Sogi their applicants or employees have?
No.
Sige, Chai. No.
Sa akin, no. Because coming out is a process. You don't force people to come out just so you would know their Soji or just so you want them to be accepting or you want to be an equal. Kasi with us, I was never asked naman what my Soji was when I was applying, but when we were asked to tell people about ourselves, the first thing that I said is, "Hi, my name is Chai. I'm a female presenting lesbian. I'm a lipstick lesbian." Na lahat sila na-shock kasi parang hindi mo naman kailangan sabihin yun. Sabi ko, no, but I wanted to say it.
Yeah.
Just so everybody would know. So, it's up to the person if they will come out.
Mhm.
And I don't think companies should ask what their applicants or employees Soji is.
Right.
But a company can be Soji educated.
Okay.
People in the recruitment forefront should be Soji educated. Just so
Right.
they would address people correctly.
Right. Thanks, Chai. And that's very interesting how at least in your case you already are parang inuunahan mo na sila, right?
Mm-mm.
And like you said, it's a process. For you, you're comfortable doing that, but other people may not be comfortable
not.
with it. And the reason why I'm saying this because I'd like to hear from Michael because I know you had like some personal experience about a question like this, right? Or backroom conversations before. So, ano yung experience mo sa ganun?
Well, when I was applying for this job and the HR recruiter asked me about my Soji 3 times. I mean, like, are you comfortable with your sexuality? 3 times during the 1 hour interview. And I said, I'm very comfortable. Are you comfortable with yours? Diba? So, in an IT technology, there are tools already in HR that ask the gender on which do you prefer. Pero some technology still uses the male female. Pero again, if you check other gender preferences, hindi naman nakikita yun except for HR.
Right.
HR might need the data for somewhere. Pero you're not required to go out.
Yeah.
Okay, that's good.
All right.
Least.
Okay. I think we're racing through the questions because we want everybody to be heard. And
Yes.
Okay, so here. The next question is this. How can queer people, especially younger ones, respectfully address abusive speech from more senior co-workers who crack offensive jokes? We have a lot of people who are in the workplace who are younger already. So nararamdaman na natin to di ba? Ibang-iba yung generation na yung mga more senior. They could be senior in terms of age, and I think there's a whole angle here if they are senior in terms of hierarchy in the organization. How can they do that? What's the respectful way of addressing abusive speech? Lalo na pag sinasabi nila, what? I was just joking.
Or ito naman.
Ako very
Ito naman, di ba yung ganon?
Parang you're offending. Sinasabi ko agad, you just offended.
Okay.
Very direct ko lang sinasabi.
paano kung ang reply nila is, nagbibiro lang naman ako.
Oo.
Yun pa yung joke eh. Kung sabihin ko hanggang biro.
Ako din eh. Gusto ko maging maldita. Ako
Ang
din.
hirap sagutin ng question na to. Ang hirap sagutin ng question na to because of the word respectfully.
Correct.
The first thing for me, if I were, kung experience ko to hindi mo na ako ni-respect in the first place eh. What gives you the right that I should respect you back? Clap back yun. For me, ako si Michael, hindi ako nagsasalita kanina kasi parang, Mike, yung nga sumagot nito, baka mas disente yung sagot mo kaysa sa akin. Pero ako kasi,
Hindi, lalabas yung sungay ko dyan.
Pwede ko sagutin niya na parang, at ang pangit mo, joke.
Or gusto mong sabihin, okay, Kerry, last mo na yan.
Last
Ganon. Last joke mo
okay,
na.
sabihin mo, pwede mo sabihin alam mo yung dole? Ganunin mo, alam mo yung dole? Pwede mo silang tautin.
Alam mo yung NLRC?
Sa lahat ng organization ko kasi, everybody's educated not to ask those type of questions or not to crack jokes. Kaya yun parang nasa culture din ng organization mo and how you present yourself. Kung pine-present mo din kasi yung sarili mo ng kabiro-biroan, although that should not be a problem, kaya lang minsan talaga ang sarap parang jack. Ganun.
Yeah, no, I get it. And I think
Just be the better person. Ako dyan, parang just be the better person. Always compose yourself.
Take the high road.
Oo.
Yep.
Yeah. Siguro if it's a pattern, for me, if it's a pattern of behavior that you really feel makes it intolerable to be at that particular workplace, then it's something to elevate if you cannot directly address. Lalo na kasi may angle pa ng more senior co-workers. So I'm thinking, pwedeng boss niya to, ganun. So, baka elevate the concern. If you have an HR team, talk to them about it, So, there are always ways, I think, that you can go through the proper channels so that you're also not put in a difficult position. But I think what makes me sad about this thing is that the burden to correct or to call out still falls on them, right? To say to people, that is not right. And that's why moving into a more inclusive workplace, I think my big takeaway today is really for us to find out more, to educate ourselves. If there are things we don't understand, to ask those questions. Kasi how difficult, it's still with them na sila pa rin yung kailangan mag-initiate ng ganito.
Ako siguro, just to add lang.
Yeah.
Sorry.
Sure.
Just to add, and to answer the question. If it is a situation kasi that's not about, the joke is not about gender. Diba? It can be anything. An option can be sit down on a one-on-one with that person. Invite him or her to a sit down, one-on-one, para hindi siya napapahiya because doon lang siya magre-retaliate back pag napahiya siya. So you sit down and talk to him about it. Diba? Pero alam mo, you can only do so much If the person does not even change or realize that what he or she has done was wrong, then find a better job. Joke lang.
I think that's something that to merge maybe what you said, Rai, and what Michael said a while ago na, to sit them down and say, look, I found what you said a while ago offensive. I was offended. And these are the reasons why, to give that feedback. I think that's the best route to take if you say respectfully, diba? You want to respectfully address the concern. Then tama, sit them down and hey, can I have a one-on-one with you right now to give that feedback na about the behavior and to be direct, just like what Michael was. He was direct, and I think that's the first step. Yeah.
Correct. Hindi naman lahat nanggagaling sa more tenured. Kasi I have a member before. Every time may one-on-one, nakaganon siya lagi. So napansin ko yung gesture niya na ganon. So I have to ask, are you uncomfortable? And he said yes. Because you're gay and you're my boss. He feels very uncomfortable. Yes, he feels very uncomfortable having one-on-one sessions with me. So yung first thing is we have to ask HR, and then we need to transfer to a bigger room. So may
Mm,
issues lang siya sa, syempre pag one-on-one, smaller rooms, di ba?
right.
And then we get to know each other better. Yun, I had to understand, and I have to really observe his gesture as well. Kasi napansin ko nakagano lang siya lagi. Sabi ko, ano meron? Magalamig ba? Yung pala, that's him showing me na he's uncomfortable with the sessions. See,
Okay.
even reverse, it should work. You have to identify them pag sa
Right.
subordinate mo naman.
Right.
Yeah.
Okay, great. Thank you for your inputs, and I think we're going to show a related comment yata to this. We have a comment from kay Sean ule. Thank you. So you can offend someone even if it's not in your exactly, even if it's not your intention. That's true. That's true.
That's right.
I mean, it's something that Ryan mentioned a while ago. We grew up in a society wherein everything was behind closed doors. You know, you couldn't talk about these things or show it. I mean, I come from that generation that grew up that way. You know, and so I understand. I understand that generation, and it's taken me also my time to change that mindset, and I'm still learning a lot of things, and that's why I'm very grateful for everyone who's in this panel, because I'm also learning, and I hope you guys are learning, those of you who are watching are learning from our panel as well. So we have, I think, one more question, unless Sarah, you wanted to add something.
There
Sorry.
are actually two. Okay, there are two questions left.
Okay, two questions left.
From Dena, who's always tuned in to our webinars. Dena Kel.
Masigit na taga-subaybay. Okay.
I love this coffee table chat. How do I encourage others, especially the older generation that Robbie was talking about, who
Like
grew up
me?
with a different mindset, to join the conversation when they're usually very uncomfortable about it? Ay,
Mm.
nako ah.
Buy a song, break it to me gently. Diba?
Or, ako ba ginawa ko? When I came out to my parents, one discussion, si Mike break it to them gently. Ako hindi. Boyfriend ko. Ganon. But that's my style. I'm not saying ganon, no. But that has broken the ice actually. That has broken the ice for me and for my parents. Now more they discuss things about sexuality, about we have family members who are a married lesbian couple in the United States who did ano yun, yung they inject the baby inside.
In
Ano yun,
vitro.
Sai?
IV.
Busy na.
Oo. So, di ba, if you look at that kind of family, that's a very modern family.
Yeah.
And there are family members in the United States. So, when I sit down with dinner with my parents, they talk about, with surely still uncomfortable, and there's still tinge of discrimination but it started the conversation. So it can go both ways. It really depends on the relationship, the system that you're in. Diba? Sometimes you can break it to them gently. Sometimes you can gulpi di gulat.
Which is
Yung
what you
family
did.
ko different pace eh. Different yung pace kasi my parents are separated. So with my biological dad, with my dad, I said, "Dad, I'm gay." Okay, ganon. I'm a lesbian. Okay, ganon. Tapos meron pa siyang tanong na ayoko na lang sabihin dito kasi medyo medyo mali.
Sabihin mo.
Sinong mas tanong niya sa akin, di ba nagka-boyfriend ka na? Sabi ko, oo. So, hindi ka nasarapan sa lalaki? May ganon. May ganon. And then, I'm lucky enough to have an aunt who's gay, who's a lesbian, and butch. So, alam mo yun, meron akong predecessor eh. So, baka naman, pag sa akin, okay lang, kalma lang. hindi din. Meron pa rin coming out drama with my grandparents. Meron pa rin thumping of Bible scriptures. Meron pa rin ganun eh. And I had to leave that house just so I could find peace of mind. And then with my mom naman, ang tagal. It was a 16-year process of coming out. And the only time that I realized that, oh, she has accepted who I really am, when she always looks for my partner, and nakita naman niya how my partner and I work together, and how Kim is such a good partner to me, and kung gaano sila tinitreat ni Kim, parang tinitreat niya rin yung magulang niya. Parang ganon. Nakita kasi niya eh na, hindi pwede naman palang ganon. Tapos biglang nung ulyanin na, yung lola at lolo ko whom I grew up with, nung ulyanin na sa, sabi, nung prime, na nila eh, mga past prime na na nila, sunset days. Sabi ng lola ko, so ikaw, para kang si tita mo. Sabi ko, opo. So ayun na. Yun na yun, that's it. Unti-unti nilang tinanggap. Hindi siya yung, okay, lesbiana ka. Parang gano'n.
Yeah.
Walang
Pero, wala. Pero be prepared. Really, if it's really the old ones, yung generation na, ano na lang sasabihin ng kapitbahay generation.
Correct.
You really have to prepare yourself mentally, sometimes physically, kasi minsan talaga kapag yung traditional Spanish household, merong ano yan eh, may latigo yan. So, meron pa rin. May latay na isa eh. Alam mo yun, but hindi din siya, it's not an easy conversation to have.
Right.
But it is a conversation worth having.
Right. I think what's important and what's mentioned, I don't know if Ryan, you mentioned it, it's really a process. And if I look at the question, really, there's no cookie cutter way of doing it, right? There's really none. You understand the situation in your own family, and ikaw na bahala, di ba? You have to weigh how you're going to do that, for your family. And with you, Chai, it took 16 years, with your mom's side, and with your dad, it took only 6 seconds, maybe, I don't know. Kasi nung sinabi mo, okay na agad.
Ang bilis eh, in a snap.
Oo. So I guess maybe to answer Dena's question, it's really number one, it's a conversation that you have to have, and number two, it's a process. And the process really depends on your family and how you know your family well enough. But I like what you said, Chai. It's a conversation worth having. Difficult.
Didiskartehan mo lang talaga.
Correct.
Yeah.
The old ones.
Yung timing din. And maybe if it's awkward na, if you really want to ease them into that conversation without being very obvious that that's where you want to lead them to, you can talk about very pop culture things that they're familiar about. Oh, there's a movie, there's a ganyan na artista, there's this particular song. And then normally they're also curious about those things. But at least you're not yet speaking from your experience, right? So you can reference that. You can use that to kind of start to gauge where they are. So it also gives you the clue in terms of how do I approach. Okay, so pwede kang maggumamit ng experiences ng ibang tao or papanoodin mo tong webinar na to sa kanila.
Or another thing that maybe I'd like to add before we move on to the next question or the next segment is, now that we're talking about this, for those who are straight, cisgender, parents right now watching and listening to us, make it easier then for your kids. You will never know who are part of the LGBTQIA community member in your family. Be prepared, because you'll never know. So when the time comes that they reach out, please reach out also back, because that is the difficulty of the communities, struggle ng community to be accepted. So imagine how much courage someone has to bring to face your family and risk backlash, risk being discriminated against in the family. Diba? So yun, if there are parents here listening, reach out back.
Okay, thank you. All right, so I think last two questions na talaga. Sayang, ang dami pang pwedeng gawin, ano? Okay, so here's a question. How do you balance fighting for LGBTQIA plus rights but avoiding canceling other people's feelings and beliefs? Cancel culture can also be toxic and discriminating, which runs counter to fighting for others. So yon. How do you balance?
You don't actually have to cancel other people's
Malalim.
feelings
True.
while fighting for LGBTQIA rights. You don't. Because what are you canceling? ano yung mawawala sa'yo kung magkakaroon kami ng karapatan? Because these are your rights too. These are the things that you're enjoying right now. You just have to extend it to us. And then number two, I have never believed in cancel culture
True.
because that's one culture that I hate so much.
Right.
Hindi mo pwedeng bigyan yung chance ng tao na mag-grow. Hindi mo pwedeng hindi bigyan yung chance ng tao na magbago.
Mm-hmm.
So that's my take on the question.
All right. Thank you, Chai.
For me, in the first place, there should not be any cancel culture at all in any degree or in any aspect of human society. There should be no cancel culture. So if, for example, there are two parties or two people who don't believe the same ideas, and someone takes it against you that you believe otherwise, then that's a fault of that party to unlearn and relearn. You know,
Right.
so if you rephrase this question in any other perspective, it's the cancel culture that has to be taken out. Diba?
Yeah. Right.
So when the idea of canceling someone because they don't share the same beliefs or the same religion or same whatever fashion, that's yun yung mali. Diba? So it should not be even considered cancel culture.
Yeah.
I echo lang both Brian and Shai.
Right. I think the follow up that the person has for this, you're right, and cancel culture really is not. Not acceptable in any society. I mean, it should not be acceptable. But there are those, and this is a follow up from the person who gave this question. But there are those from the community that cancel other people. So I guess it's a reality that we need to that we face, right? That there
Yeah.
are people who are part of this cancel culture, and if it's something that probably does not affect you personally, and that you are empowered to live the way that you do, and are productive, I think let's
Siguro
yan, don't control, di ba? Parang gano'n.
I think this question kasi has two different aspects. Si cancel culture is a totally different thing altogether. So if we
Right.
want to attack, if there is an issue about cancel culture, si cancel culture yung i-attack mo. I mean, as a totally different entity altogether. So, kumbaga, ibang webinar siya, let's discuss how to eradicate cancel culture. So that no one is afraid, no one is fearful of expressing themselves.
True.
Yeah.
True. And then happy daw yung nag-answer na yung nagtanong na the guests are hindi raw kayo ganun. Nax. Okay. Hindi raw kayo cancel culture.
Hindi talaga.
We chose wisely, guys. We
As
chose
much as
wisely.
possible. My principle kasi as much as possible is to be a safe space to anyone.
Right.
Because that safe space was not afforded to me when I was growing up.
Yeah.
So, hindi pwedeng yung taong nangangailangan ng ganon, hindi niya makuha yun sa akin. If they run to me, then that's fine. If they don't, then that's also fine. But if you need me, I can be your safe space.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Yes.
That's super nice.
All right. I think we have one more question.
One more.
Last? One last.
Yeah. Full name, Paula
Si Paula.
Beatriz Silva. So, Paula, how do I express my curiosity about LGBTQ plus in a respectful way? Okay. What's the best way to be interested or curious about what it's like without being nosy or chismosa? Ako, I can relate very much to the question. I mean, because I acknowledge that there are many things I don't understand. Okay, so I know that I need to be educated. But sometimes
Mm-hmm.
I also feel like, baka naman pag nagtanong ako, feeling niya, nahikialam ako sa kanya. Or baka naman feeling niya, gusto ko lang diba? How do you phrase that so that people know that it's coming from a genuine place and you actually want, it's being done in a very respectful way.
Ako simple, I approach is simple eh. Parang get to know the person better para mas maganda magtanong kasi hindi naman like ngayon mo lang nakausap. Ang mga tanong mo very personal na.
Mm-mm.
Diba? We can go personal if you know each other better. Kung meron na tayong pinagsamahan, you can ask us more questions. Pero
Yeah.
pag sa simula pa lang, of course, you have to do your self-study. Then
Yeah,
also get
right.
close to the person, di ba? Mag-aral ka din. Kasi meron din mga foul words talaga eh. Like yung kanina, bakla, sayang, yung mga ganon.
Mm-mm.
Mm,
Parang don't assume, never assume lagi.
right, right.
Right. Never assume.
I mean, coming from myself, no, as a straight person, I would probably also be curious if I echo what Michael says because I remember it's something that it's conversations I would have, and I'm gonna say this here, I would have with Ryan because I'm close enough with
Yeah.
Ryan to ask
Right.
those
Yes.
difficult questions. Eh. And we had these conversations before. Remember, Ryan? So I mean, 2 years ago, because I was curious and I wanted to understand more, and I believe that yeah, I mean, you're right, Michael. You can't just I can't just go up to Chai now and ask her difficult questions because this more or less the second or third time we're meeting or you. But I would probably go to Ryan because we're closer. We had a working relationship, and it's something that we can discuss, one on one. Yeah.
Ako to add lang, when we ask kasi, I'm just catching myself now, right? In terms of my curiosity about this particular community. Siguro one other check also when we want to find out more is, where's the curiosity coming from? Okay? Because I think that when we are only curious about certain people, for whatever, okay, segment of society they fall under, or that we feel like, okay, because I have labeled this person this, then this is the only way I can get to know this person. And maybe the most respectful way is to first shed that label and really
Mhm.
try to get to know who's this person, what are they interested in, right? What are they good at? What are their fears? I don't know. Like, so it becomes something that is first stripped of a label, and then after that, okay, you can ask those things then. So parang, and I go back to that. At the end of the day, we are just people, right? Who are trying to
Yes.
get to know each
Right.
other,
Right.
trying to all navigate through our own challenges, through our own difficulties. And in that space where we are all human, okay, is where we connect. Okay, so that is always going to be shared. Okay, so thank you to everyone. This is the longest webinar we've had because it is very engaging. So we want to thank everybody, especially thank you so much to Michael. Thank you, Chai. Thank you,
Thank
Ryan, for joining us
you.
today.
Thank
We
you,
learned so
Kaya.
much, from all your inputs. And our hope is really for our partners and our clients and, those who are tuned in today, that they now take whatever it is that they picked up here and begin conversations in their own workplaces so that we can become more inclusive in our organization. So, on behalf of OI, of Robbie, and of Jen who's working in the background, thank you so much, everybody. If there's anything that you want to find out more, you can definitely email us. We are at learn@organicintelligence.com.ph. Okay, so Thank you, guys. Stay safe.
Thank
Stay
Thank
you.
well.
you.
Thank
Thank you.
Have a
Thank you,
you.
good
everyone.
afternoon. We'll see
Nice
you guys
chat.
Thanks,
soon.
guys.
Much
Thanks,
appreciated. Thank
Michael.
you.
Thank
Bye.
you.
Thank you. Thank you.
Thanks.
Bye.
Bye, everyone.